Life is hard. Life is very difficult. It was never easy, and I don't think it's ever going to be easy. Life is difficult, but the good news is we are strong too. We are strong, and there's this intrinsic foundation that's been built within us that we have this proclivity of evolving and becoming better at dealing with life. I've seen little babies growing older, becoming men. And I see how they start crawling and then they start working. And then from working, they start running. And then from running, they start hustling. And there's one thing that is certain: growth. It's inevitable. You cannot, I dare you to defy growth. It's off the charts. You cannot make that up. You cannot change that. You cannot reinvent that. Growth is one constant thing. The question is, are you growing? There is a saying that if you stand still, the world will leave you behind. If you stand still, the world will leave you behind. And someone else said, if you aim for nothing in life, you hit nothing dead on the head. If you aim for nothing in life, you hit nothing dead on the head. And what that means for me is life is meaningful enough to justify whatever comes with it. Life is meaningful enough to justify its suffering, its hustle, its challenges, its obstacles. Life is in itself meaningful. So what that means is you have every reason to aim beyond what you have ever achieved in your life. Life is meaningful. And I must admit that sometimes I deal with the same thought of why do we have to strive for more? Why can't we be just contented with what we have? Why can't we just be okay with what we have? Why do we have to keep striving for more? I started writing a script because I was looking at going into movie production. And I started writing a script on the book of Cain. And we all know the story of the book of Cain, regardless of what religious dimension we are, regardless of who we are. We must have heard of the book of Cain, or Cain killing his brother. But here's the thing. This great country is built and is predicated on the book that we read about it. And guess what? I've read so many other books in my search and my curiosity for the story of Cain. You might be curious, what must have led a young man with so much promise, with so much potential, the first man to be bound by a woman? What must have made him commit such an abominable act, such a terrible act? What do you think caused it? Malevolence, resentment, malevolence and resentment. That's it. If you are so destroyed and obstructed and delusioned with and by malevolence and resentment, you're done. You have a whole lot of work to do. And then you look at a young man called Cain with all this potential as the first man born by a woman, had all this chance and all this God-given potential in him. He failed to do something. And what he failed to do is why I am talking to you today. Cain's first error wasn't killing his brother, which we all know it was really an abominable act. But Cain didn't strive to do all he could do. Cain didn't strive to push towards that thing he haven't conceived, that thing he hasn't imagined, that thing he hasn't actualized. He was living in a spot, gratifying and celebrating the little achievement he had made. And that was the serpent that took over his garden, that took over his heart, and he was done. You might say, oh yeah, well, hell, so what do you expect me to do with this whole story you just told me? I mean, we all know about Cain, and we all know he messed up, and then he lost more hope for himself, and then he killed his brother, and then he ran away to somewhere else, and then the only Lord knows what happened to him over there. But damn, that man messed it all up. Yes, we know. But can we learn from it? These archetypal brothers, the hallmark between good and evil, chaos and order, the emblem and embodiment between chaos and order, uprightness and delusion, and stagnantness, and malevolence, and resentment, and hatred. Are you that person? You blame God so much for blessing someone else that you want to bring that person down. You don't just like seeing the rich enjoying their wealth. You wish they can fall to the ground just because you are down there. Are you that person? Are you Cain? You know, someone said that modern men these days don't see God because we don't look low enough. Everybody wants to get to the top. Something they can drift up there. You can't drift to the top of the mountain. You have to climb. Decide in your future. What have you decided to do now? How much heavier, how have you determined to lift the heaviest load you can carry? How have you determined to lift your cross regardless of how heavy it is? How determined are you to lift it up and say, I will do whatever I can do until I can no longer accommodate this? Are you Cain? Are you that person who goes to bed with so much resentment and so much malevolence and hatred against your spouse, against your brother, against your sister, against yourself? never giving yourself a chance to leap forward, to grow. I listened to a poem that changed my whole life. And this poem says that out of the night that covers me black as the pit from pole to pole, oh, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fair clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bloodiness of chance, my head is blooded but unbowed. Beyond this wrath and tears lose but the horror of the shades, and yet the menace of the years of fine and find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate or how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Are you the captain of your soul? Are you the master of your fate? What are you doing today to make tomorrow thank you for today? What are you doing for your future self that will make you feel so happy for the things you have done today? That brings us to sacrifice. And sacrifice is the only thing, one big thing that has differentiated us from animals. We have been able to evolve and be able to trade what we can get today for tomorrow. Okay, if I can decide to hold on for today, I can benefit twice tomorrow. That is sacrifice. And only a few people have chosen to delay instant gratification. Are you among those people who have decided to delay the gratification of life so that you can trade the gratification of today and reap it tomorrow in double fold? Will you take up that responsibility to own up to your own errors, your mistakes, and find a way to tweak it? How to increase your cognitions, your cognitive process, your thought process, and to elaborate the way you see the world out of yourself, to embrace the incoming potential, and not just to remain a child, but become the manifestation of the potential of that child. Are you? Someone said that the good mother necessarily fails. And what that means is there's this tendency for mothers to take it very easy on their little ones, and then it is on the little ones now to decide how well their life will end up. I mean, it's just like, a child might be really like not feeling too okay to go to school, and then the mother said, "Oh yeah, I see you're not feeling okay today. You don't have to go to school." And now it's on that child to say, "You know what? I'm not feeling too bad. I can still go to school." Can you be responsible? Can you decide that you will do all that you can do to see that you can get all that you can get? Have you? Sometimes it doesn't sound fair. I know it doesn't sound fair sometimes to have to do extra. Sometimes it doesn't sound fair to have to go all this miles. Sometimes it doesn't sound fair that you have to be penalized for not doing more than you can do. Sometimes it sounds unfair to to settle for less, to be punished and be penalized for settling for less. Cain was penalized for settling for less. And then he couldn't even listen to the genuine that said, you are settling for less. Pick up your stake. Pick up your cross. Pick up the heaviest load you can and do more for yourself. Do more for yourself. He said, no. I will translate my anger and make it a huge ton of resentment, and I will annihilate my brother. And I will get rid of the greater good. I will get rid of my competition. I will get rid of the ideal of me that if I can just hold on to the only option that I've got and work and use it, I can perhaps, maybe, attain to the height of my ideal. He killed it. And so many people are doing that today, I see. So many people don't want to grow. So they give themselves every kind of reason why the growth is not necessary. So they killed their Abel. Have you killed your Abel? Have you looked down on every opportunities that you have gotten? Have you spiked every chance that you've been given? With anger, malevolence, treacherousness, ridiculous. Have you? Have you taken the opportunities that you have been presented to by life, or have you wasted them? Have you killed your Abel? That is the question we all have to ask ourselves. You know, when I was reading that book, it took me back to the Second World War, and I reflected on what happened. But the question is, was I there? No, I wasn't there. So if you were not somewhere, if you were not somewhere, you were not there to experience what really transpired, how can you be asked to remember? No, you were not asked to remember. You were asked to hold on to your heart. To hold on to your heart. The propensity and the amount of evil and genocide that the human psyche can really exhibit. You can really destroy your generation, your next generation, and your fourth generation because of your foolish acts that you are acting, that you are deciding not to own up to the thing that you should own up to, and to work and to struggle and to find a way to help the next part of you become this ideal. And then so you can open a way for those who are coming after you. I think it is imperative and very paramount. It is germane that we start asking ourselves, what really does the future hold for me? What really do I have waiting for me? Am I a liability to my... Look, we all in a race. race between good and evil, race between wealth and poverty, a race between life and death. We are all in a race, and no one is exonerated. No one is exempted. You are not exempted. You are included. And no wonder we had the one biggest example dying for the sins on everybody. And you were like, yes, yes, that is the person that should be there. That is the person we wish we should have wash our problems away. You don't want to have a dummy washing your problems away. You want to have someone who had the real ideal, the real characteristics that you would want to help deliver you. It's more like rescuing your father from the belly of the whale. You know what I mean? So we should all be grateful. But on the same token, we should all try to see how can we be part of those who can, who can break the core, who can extend ourselves, who can learn those things that we haven't. We cannot sit down and assume that we have all the answers. It's just like you think you know how to put a jet together. You don't know. I mean, you might think, oh, because you can sketch it. I mean, if you're given a pen to sketch a jet, you probably sketch it like a 2-year-old baby. There's so much to this life that it has to offer that you have realized, that I have realized, that we have realized. And I am not exempted. I am included. Because we are all guilty of one thing. We are all guilty of the ignorance that kills and that terminates our ideal. Now the question is, what are you leaving behind? What are you leaving untouched? What are you leaving neglected? What are you ignorant about? What are you excluded from? What are you missing from in life? And how will you get it? How will you get it? That is a question we all have to answer. That is a question we all have to think about. That is a psychedelic we all need to see. Because that is the only way we can get out of this life alive. That is the only way we can get out of life alive. Like you say, well, it's none of my business. Wrong. It is your business. Good men and women go to sleep for too long, and that is why the chaos is superseding the order that we find ourselves. We have to push the chaos backward. We have to bring order forward. We have to push beyond chaos. We all in the fight. We all in this battle together. Get up. Grow the hell up. Grow the hell up. And take and lift the heaviest load you can. And do the most work you can. And be the best person you can. And be the best role model you can. Be the best father you can. Be the best mother you can. Be the best community you can. That is what it takes. If we want to decide our future, if we want to decide what tomorrow will hold, we have to start deciding what we do today, because today is the tomorrow in determination. Today is tomorrow in rehearsal. Today is tomorrow in the making. And no one is exempted. No one is exonerated. And if you think you're exempted, if you think you're exempted, well, time will tell. But to end my conversation on a very positive note, I would say this last word. If you want a life bad enough, you must go out and fight for it. To work day and night for it. To risk your sleep and your peace for it. And if all that you do is, and all that you just seek is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you gladly sweat for it, if you gladly fight for it and fight for it, and if you can lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you can go after it with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith and hope and confidence and stern pertinacity, if you can dog and gleam and you beset it and you besiege it, you will get it. You will get it. That is my word to you. That is my word to you. And hold this one. Even if you miss everything I've said, hold this one to heart. If you go after it, if you decide your future right now, and you go after it with all you've got, you will get it. Indeed, you will get it.